And I just said, Mum, Mario Fennick, Mick Podgy, Neil Baker and Kyle McRae-Coleman, absolutely give it to him.
His touch judges have been kept busy in this encounter, so they should have been. It was too much for the man in the middle on his own.
To the stage where I hate him, and I'm going to hate them all.
Now here's the sin bin coming up for Mario Fennick. That's his second visit.
Red jersey, green jersey, blue jersey, it didn't matter. Hate them all. That was my attitude, and it served me very well.
This kind of refereeing career ran alongside a policing career. Tell us about the tactical response group.
That all came about because there was a few rights and that sort of thing, and they just said, well, we've got to get a group where they can respond to this and be trained to handle it. Probably the biggest dicey moments was the Bathurst bike races.
More than 70 police have been injured and almost as many people arrested in a night of drunken rioting at the Easter motorcycle races at Bathurst.
There was a guy in front of us throwing stuff. He was peeing into a bottle and throwing that at us, and we were just getting smashed with bricks, rocks, Molotov cocktails, and we kept getting smashed for hours and hours. They pulled the toilet block down with all the Bessel blocks, and we're using those as missiles.
Wasn't it you got hit by a rock or something that same night, or
yep, I got knocked out? Yeah. Knocked out. And because a lot of cops were going down and we're that short-staffed, as soon as I come around and was right, I had to get straight back up there and straight back out on the line. Very scary.
It must have been so physically and mentally taxing for you. Like you're working at Coppers, copping it all week, you're reffing, you're playing. Like, how did you handle all that?
I think it's just over a period of time and copping it, you learn to live with it. George Piggins was the South coach, and I remember he got interviewed and he says, there's two people in this life that I hate, and it's coppers and referees, and you two are both of them.
I imagine as a cop and a referee, you weren't wrong very often.
Never wrong, never wrong. Never made a mistake.
I want to talk about your refereeing style, because I've heard you describe refereeing as like being the conductor of an orchestra, and you have to have an empathy for the game. Can you explain those mantras and why they're important to you?
Yeah, I think you do, because when you go out on that field, you are really the conductor. You're in the middle and you're controlling, just as a conductor controls the orchestra. And if they're playing well, you can virtually just stand there and not worried. So if I went out there and the players respected me and they just said, OK, if we work with Bill, he'll stick the whistle in his pocket. The coaches got to know it, and the coaches also got to know that don't give this guy any lip, because he will send you packing for 10 minutes or he'll have us 10 metres down the park, just like that.
And 10 minutes in the bin for Suriname, and perhaps Suro can consider himself a little bit fortunate that that's what he got.
And I did that pretty much in my first couple of years. I virtually had a player in the bin every game, and it was because I wouldn't cop anything. Mario copped a fair bit.
10 minutes. Is something that was said, or...?
That's not for the original offence. That was for something said to Bill Harrigan by Mario Fennick.
What was your relationship with these guys before microphones? How did you talk to each other, and how did that kind of develop?
Well, I was privy to a lot of sledging that was going on, packing down scrums, play the balls. There's a lot of sledging. Nobody else could hear it. Sometimes I'd get a few words, choice words said at me, and I'd bark back with a few choice words. So it was tit for tat.
Davidson and Kelly both flew out of the scrum, and they've been called out by Harrigan. See it again.
Just watch this and watch Kelly's headgear. Just watch this. Bang! And off goes the headgear. Kelly got...
I couldn't cop the unacceptable comments, and if we go to the cheat comment, I think 7 or 8 players ended up off. They were the 8 players that called me a cheat. That was the one word you couldn't say to me, period. I came through when there was no microphones, then we got earpieces, then we got microphones on top of flag sticks, then I was mic'd up. No video referee, in-goal touch judges to video referee. I went through that whole era, so I still go back and think I went through the best time.
Now the penalty goes to the Eagles.
Go away. He was all over you, but I wanted to quick play the ball so you could get on with it. Don't push him back. Yeah, I know, but don't shove him back.
Take the 2.
OK, having a shot, fellas.
I just remembered a funny, and it was in a test match in New Zealand, and the scrum was about to be put down. Brett Camorley was the halfback, and someone turned around and went, "Oh, who did that? That is shocking." And Jason Stevens turned around and said, "Oh, sorry, boys, that was me." And I turned around and said, "You got to have a good look at what you ate last night." And Camorley's going, "Will you just get the ball in so we can get out of here?"
You mentioned the 7 or 8 players that you sent off. Obviously the famous one's Gordy, but do you remember who the others were?
Marty Bella, Peter Jackson, God rest his soul.
Both of them are gone. So they're down to 11 in a sensation here. Somebody's having plenty to say to the referee, and Harrigan's not going to cop it.
Good luck, Bill Harrigan, getting home tonight.
John Hopewadi.
Now, hang on, I believe he has sent him off, has he?
Hopewadi at one stage turned around and said, "You're a cheat." And I turned around and went, "You're gone." Tuvey turned around and said, "You know what Hopper said?" And I went, "Yep." And he went, "Well, I agree with him." And I went, "And you go and sit with him."
Now, I think he sent Tuvey off as well. He sent the captain off as well.
Why the word cheat? Why?
You question your integrity. You can only give away integrity by being biased or by cheating.
You're gone.
Bill, you can't send him.
There you go, he's gone. Go. Any more, I'll keep putting them off. That's it. That's it.
Do you need to have a big ego to be a good referee?
You do need to have an ego. You do need to have a touch of arrogance, and you do need to be very confident. But the impact of your decisions are enormous on this team, not only in that game, but in their standing on the ladder for the whole season.
Wrapped up by Vietnam.
Go.
And now he sent him to the bed.
Go on, where you go?
Harrigan warned them.
Go.
He's gone too.
Oh, no. You get out. Go on.
Harrigan has now put 3 in the
You
bed.
just give him a golf ball, which is unacceptable. Go and have another 10.
Well, hang on, we've got Michael Hughes gone for 10 minutes again. Another 10.
Hollywood Harrigan, the nickname. Where did it come from and why do you think you got it?
Rebecca Wilson gave it to me. I didn't like it. I tried not to buy it. And the reason I didn't like it is there is already a Hollywood. Greg Hartley is Hollywood. He earned that reputation because he was flamboyant out there.
The referee has fallen. That is the try.
Back to that bit of action in a moment. And he'll get himself sent off if he keeps this up. Look at it, nose to nose. But he's awarded the try from a sitting position. And he's hurt his shoulder, Greg Hartley.
He would dive and pretend he slipped over and then go like that while he's lying on the ground and go...
She's laying down the law. You cannot pull that triumph, she said. Greg Hartley's not impressed. Some of the players have got her by the arm and are dragging it. Gerard has got her. He's dragging her to the sideline. I suggest she might have an interesting afternoon dodging bobbies.
I think it's 10 grand finals, 21 origins, 24 test matches, like 17 seasons in the NRL. What was your key to great performance?
An honest review at the end of every year and then saying, OK, what can I do better next year because I'm going to have these other referees coming for me. When you're on top of the pile, someone's always trying to knock you off. We were doing a training session and we got flogged in the pool with doing laps and stuff. And when we finished, blokes like Hampstead and Simpkins and that, they were all jumping out. And I turned around and took off and did another 2 laps. And when I got, they went, and we're all shagged. And they said, "What'd you do that for?" And I said, "I needed to. And it's also going to mess with their heads." And so I did that all the time.
Fiddler's gone after it. Then he scoops the ball away to Byrne. Byrne puts on a fend. Then he puts on a sprint. Sutler is made. The tackle of the day.
The 2003 grand final was your last game in the NRL, and it was an amazing game, probably one of the many big games and big moments you saw over your career, and I kind of wanted to run through a few with you, but what was your memory of that 2003 grand final? Was it just the Scott Sattler tackle? Does that stand out to you?
I think that stands out for just about everybody. Whenever you say 2003, they go, that tackle. Because if Todd Byrne scores that try, that game is over. Roosters win it. You go back to 99, it was obviously the penalty try. You go back to 89, and there was a number of things there. Gary Jack dropping the ball at full time on a bomb. Benny Elias's field goal hitting the crossbar. Any of those little things happen, results different.
What was the best game you think you ever refereed?
89 grand final is the one that sticks in my grand final. And not because of the penalty try. Take that out of it. There was 108,000 people there. It's the largest rugby league crowd, I think, in history. It was just a great game of footy. And they absolutely turned the game around in the second half and win the game.
So is he given the penalty try or the 8-point try?
No, penalty try. He's given a penalty try.
Which everyone agrees was a penalty try, except the die-hard Prior St George supporters still probably hurt. My dad and my brother, mad St George supporters, and they're going, "William, you could have helped us out." And I'm going, everyone knows that's a penalty try every day of the week.
The grand final party has come alive in Melbourne.
After I did retire here, I ended up going to Papua New Guinea and refereeing 5 straight NRL grand finals up there. Some of their grand finals were classic, and the way they play footy up there and the way they're passionate about it. And then you've got shots being fired in the middle of a game, tear gas being fired. It's just, it's an unbelievable atmosphere to be up there. But they're some of the best experiences I've ever had. And one of them was in Mount Harrigan, Chimbu versus Mount Harrigan. It's the local derby. And I'm up there refereeing it, and the ball went out to the winger in Mount Harrigan. They're down 30-28. He catches the ball off a forward pass. I've gone, and as I'm going forward pass, he dives over and scores in the corner. And then the hooter goes. There's 4,500 people cheering and carrying on, and I thought, I'm in a lot of trouble here, because violence up there was a problem. And they jumped the fence and come running onto the fence, and I thought, I'm dead, because I've just ruled out a forward pass and cost Mount Harrigan the game in Harrigan against their arch rivals, Chimbu. These guys hit me in the legs, and I started belting them, and I'm waiting for the security and the cops to help me, but there was just too many of them. I'm going down, but I'm going down with a fight. So I'm belting them. Next minute, these 2 blokes who got me legs lifted me up, and I'm on their shoulders, and they were cheering me, and they started going, Billy, 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 which I thought was kill him, kill him, kill him. I'm thinking, I've gone from thinking I'm dead, absolutely dead, to a rock star. To this day, hairs on the back of the neck. It was an experience. I get emotional. It was that good. And had it not been for that Super League war where we couldn't referee, I don't do that. And you can see how emotional I am. It just brings back tears. It was beauty. But the emotions went because I also felt I was dead. I thought I was dead set gone. To be then like a rock star, it was wow.
You're off. You're off. No, he's gone. Off. He's off. Adrian, he is off. You are off. It's not. Don't talk to me. Just go. Just go.
A lot of big Origin moments. Obviously, the one that stands out is Gordy. Don't talk to me, just go. When I say those words to you now, what does it make you feel?
State of Origin 2000. Gordy used the word, the cheat, with a couple of other expletives. But he was jumping up and down because he said there was a knock-on down in the field of play.
No doubt it came forward.
It's unbelievable that's been missed.
I just kept saying to him, just play on. We're playing on. There was no knock-on. Play on. And we kept going. Then he's turned around and he said, mate, you are a worse referee than Stephen Clark. And I went, you're going to go to the bin for that. We kept going down, and then Ryan Girdler scores in the corner. And I'm looking for him, and he's coming over and he's giving me a gobful. And I thought, I'm going to bin this bloke. I'm just not going to cop this crap. I copped it all the way down the field. I'm not copping it here. And then he let go with it. And he threw the word cheat in. And as soon as he threw the word cheat in, it was, oh, now you're gone. Just go. It didn't matter how big the stage was. It didn't matter whether it was, the State of Origin. Could happen in the State of Origin grand final test match. Use that word, bang. Give him credit. Straight after the game, he came into the sheds and he said, mate, I shouldn't have said what I said. I sincerely apologise. And I said, accepted. Let's leave it at that. And then he just, as he's walking, he goes, but there was still a knock-on. And you're still worse than Stephen Clark.
Think you have a problem with your relationship with Bill?
Mate, I've got no problem, mate. I've got no problem with him. He's a great referee, as you saw tonight. He was the best. So I haven't got a problem with him at all.
When we were having our clashes on the field, and even in a test match, Wayne Bennett dragged him off because we were at each other. And in the end, Wayne Bennett contacted the referee's boss and said, I can't have my captain and the Australian captain with the #1 referee at loggerheads.
Sounded the whistle. Penalty goes to Canberra.
Yep.
Daly.
A good advantage play there by Bill Harrigan. In fact, there's 10 minutes in the bin here. Gordon Tallis is the man.
Penalty to Granada. You've got to stand up with the ball. Mate, you've got to stand up with the ball in your possession. And the ball just went out there.
Unbeknown to anybody, we ended up meeting at my mum's place over tea and scones, jam and cream, and talked about our differences. The only people that knew this meeting was on was Wayne Bennett, Gordon Tallis, myself, referee's coach, my mum and dad. And we resolved our differences over tea and scones.
You find yourself on the bench. You keep that, mate. Away you go. I don't want it. Tea.
You know, you cop a bit from players and fans on the day, but did it ever go too far? Threats, things like that with your career?
I was coming off Sydney Football Stadium. I was refereeing St George. And just out of the corner of my eye, I saw this St George jersey, and it was a bloke running straight at me. And I just put my palm out and I hit him in the chest. That just stopped him for that split second while the security guard then dived all over him. They grabbed him. I went up the tunnel, went in there. Well, that was interesting. He was a little bit upset, wasn't he? One other game, Shark Park. Desi Hasler was halfback. He had to put the ball in the middle of the scrum. And he'd put it in twice where it was second row, and I've gone bang, penalty. And I said, you do that again, I'll sit you down. Next scrum, he just turned around, he looked at me as if to sort of say, well, I'm going to test you. And he went, bang, second row. And I went, bang, you, in the bin, go. Cronulla ended up winning the game against 12 men. And as I'm walking off, there's Fulton standing right at the edge of the tunnel. And as I walked past him, he said, I hope you get run over by a truck. I hope it's a cement truck. And I turned around and said, good on you, mate. And my dad was there down at the tunnel too and come and get in there, and Dad said, I'll go out there and whack one on his chin. That'd be worse, Dad. That'd make it a lot worse. Just don't worry about it. And then I think the next day it was on the front page. The next day after that it was on the back page. I never refereed Manly for 14 weeks. And the very first time I get the refereeing was at Brookvale. And some bloke who owned, obviously a Manly supporter, owned a concrete truck, had driven in and parked it in the car park up the top.
What about Gus?
Gus, we had a couple of run-ins, and I remember hearing someone yelling out, and there was a couple of expletives. And I turned around and said, Keith, who's that yelling out? And he said, it's the Penrith coach. And I went, who's he yelling out at? And he went, you. I went, what? I blew a penalty to Penrith, and next minute I heard, no, we don't want it. Stick it up, yeah. You F and this, F and that. And I turned around and said, is that the coach again? And he went, yep. And I said, me again? And he went, yep. Time off, walked over. Righto, coach, you want to yell that sort of thing out? Not a problem. But you're doing it from the grandstand, behind the fence.
I don't think I've ever seen this. The referee is sending the Penrith coach off. Oh, shall I tell you what, this will be headlines for the next week.
I'd want to pick your brain, because obviously you have the best seat in the house to this great game of rugby league when you're refereeing. Who was the player that, you know, you were in awe of when you saw some of the things that they did?
Probably Wally Lewis. I was in awe of him because I was a young referee coming through and a young fan of rugby league, and you're watching Wally Lewis in State of Origin and how he dominated. And then all of a sudden, I'm running out in the middle of Lang Park in 1991 and I'm going, oh, wow. And I was so nervous, my legs were jelly, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it.
Big night for Billy Harrigan, his first time here at Lang Park in State of Origin conditions.
Yeah, there's a lot of debutants here tonight. Bill, of course, is one of them, but he was entitled to the job. He got the job.
And there's Wally Lewis, Mal Meninga and all these other blokes. And I think, wow, how good is this? But Wally used to talk to his players and do things, and you think, what is he doing? And then 3 and 4 plays later, that player that he had set up was involved in that play, and the play played off. So he was like that chess player that's 4 or 5 moves ahead. It was a great seat.
Who was the best back chatter?
It's the halfbacks. Craig Coleman, although a lot of times I needed an interpreter. Billy. Alfie Langer, Gary Freeman, and I'm going to mention him, he's still out there running around, but Marty Bella, oh, mate, hard work.
So Billy Harrigan has Bella, Clyde, Meninga, all in there.
I know you didn't make many, but...
if you're going to say mistakes, I made none. No, I made several.
Is there one that stands out to you that you're like, cringe when you think about it?
Yes. My first grand final, 89. The game that I still put up there as the best game I've probably been in. Gary Freeman was offside. He was in front of him. I missed it. If he had got the ball and I had played on, so that was a bad mistake.
Your thoughts on the modern game?
Look, it's fast. These guys are just another level with their bodies and the explosion. The hits.
What about the refereeing? You talked about being the conductor and having empathy for the game and all those things that you think made you a great referee. Has that been taken away from the referees, the modern referee?
I think, unfortunately, the referees of today, their confidence may be eroded. I thought there was a period there where They had to check everything. They were encouraged to check everything. And if you're doing that, then your confidence is eroded. And if your confidence is eroded anywhere, it affects your decision-making anywhere over the field.
Guys like Wayne Bennett, Gus have said blow up the bunker.
Can't, no. I don't agree with that. You've got to have it. Look at the athleticism of these wingers and the way they dive out, and they'll be inches off the ground, reaching in, putting the point of the ball on a couple of blades of grass just inside the touching goal line or the try line. And to the naked eye in fast motion, you go, he's out. He's out every day of the week. And then you see the slow-mo replay, and it's a centimetre inside the line, and you go, wow, that's a try. That's why you need the bunker.
My final question to you is, how would you like to be remembered?
I was good at my job. I did a lot, and I just want to be remembered as that referee that was fair and contributed to the game of rugby league in the best possible way. And that'll do me.
It was a terrific career.
I'll go now. I'll just go. Thanks, Jake.
Hey.